In the Arctic, every meal begins with an energy calculation. The polar bear does not hunt with haste. Amid the vast expanse of sea ice, there is nowhere to hide, and little chance to correct a miscalculation once it has been made. Amid the broken ice floes, a pale shape rises and dives without a sound. The beluga whale is one of the first residents of this sea, but today's story does not belong to it. On the ice above, another predator is waiting. For the polar bear, the sea is not something to swim through. It is a hunting ground. On the ice, the most important thing is sometimes not a footprint. It is a small hole in the white surface. For a seal, it is a breathing hole. For a polar bear, it is the point at which an entire hunt can be reduced to a single location. Seals live beneath the ice, but they must still return to the surface for air. They create scattered breathing holes across the ice and use them as lifelines throughout the cold season. Polar bears understand this instinctively honed across thousands of icy seasons. They do not need to see the entire prey animal. They only need to find the place where it must inevitably appear. Once they detect a breathing hole that may be in use, the bear becomes almost part of the ice itself. It stands motionless, or lies low to reduce the outline of its body. The nose matters more than the eyes, because beneath the thin snow scent can still leave the faintest traces. This is a kind of hunting without great noise. No long chase, no explosive sprint at the outset. Only a predator weighing several hundred pounds lying in wait beside a breathing hole as it waits for prey to be betrayed by the most basic biological imperative of all, the need to breathe. Ringed seals can carve multiple breathing holes in the ice. That turns the frozen surface into a map of critical points. A polar bear does not hunt randomly across the white expanse. It watches the places where a seal is most likely to return. Not every hunt takes place at a breathing hole. Sometimes opportunity lies right on the ice. A seal hauls out of the water to rest. It has a clear advantage. If it detects danger early enough, it can slide back into the sea and vanish into a realm far harder for a bear to control. The bear must close in without alerting its prey too soon. It lowers its body, uses the color of its fur to blend into the ice, and chooses an approach that keeps its scent from being carried straight toward the seal by the wind. Every meter carries a cost. A hunt like this can end in under 3 seconds. But to earn those 3 seconds, the bear may have spent dozens of minutes stalking its prey. This hunting method depends on the wind, the distance, and the prey's escape route. A polar bear cannot turn every opportunity into a meal. More often than not, it must accept defeat to avoid expending even more energy on a target that has already slipped beyond its control. Sea ice is not always continuous. When cracks widen, the hunting ground is broken into smaller fragments. Every stretch of open water between 2 ice floes comes at a cost. Polar bears are superb swimmers. But swimming in freezing water is not cost-free. It drains body heat. It burns energy. And more importantly, it pulls the bear away from its most efficient hunting platform, the ice itself. On ice, a bear can ambush. In the water, seals have more ways to escape. So when a bear swims from one ice floe to another, it is not merely moving. It is paying to maintain access to its hunting grounds. A floe in the right place can bring it closer to a breathing hole. A good ice edge may lie beside an area where seals commonly surface. A crack aligned just so can become a hunting corridor. But if the ice becomes too fragmented, the bear's entire hunting system begins to lose efficiency. It can still swim. But swimming is not the same as winning. Swimming is only a way to stay in the game a little longer. Not every ice sheet is firm enough to bear a body, weighing hundreds of pounds. Before stepping fully onto new ground, a bear usually does something very small. It places one paw first. It tests the spring of the surface. At times, it stops altogether simply to listen to the sound rising from the ice beneath. When it remains uncertain, it no longer walks on all fours. It lowers its entire body, almost crawling on its belly. Its weight is no longer concentrated in one point, but spread across a much larger area. Newly formed ice is darker in color. Ice that has survived many seasons is thicker, stronger. That distinction is not something a bear learns in a single day. It is the product of thousands of paw placements, thousands of moments spent reading the feedback rising from beneath its own feet. Misjudging an ice sheet does not merely mean getting wet. It can mean dropping into an area where the surrounding ice is too unstable to serve as a foothold when trying to claw its way back up. From a distance, a polar bear may appear to be wandering aimlessly across a uniform plain. But beneath each of those steps lies a small test, repeated hundreds of times in a day, quieter than any ambush. Not everything that looks like a meal is worth trying. Not every opportunity is worth charging into. In some regions, polar bears can reach larger herds of prey. In theory, the energy on offer is immense right there in front of them. But in practice, things are not so simple. A single adult animal may be too dangerous. A forceful counterattack from large prey can injure a bear, and in the Arctic, injury is a crippling debt against survival. The bear moves closer. It does not rush in at once. If no weakness is clear enough, the most rational choice may be to withdraw. This is the part that is so easily misunderstood. A bear that turns away from an opportunity is not acting from lack of strength. It is calculating with its own body. A large meal only matters if the risk does not destroy the chance to hunt the next one. On the sea ice, the survivor is not the one that attacks everything. It is the one that knows which opportunities are not worth the price. But sometimes a meal does not need to be won. It only needs to be found at the right moment. Not every meal in the Arctic comes from a successful ambush. Sometimes the sea delivers a vast store of energy. A whale carcass can reshape the entire survival map around it. In an environment where every meal must be earned through hours of travel and waiting, a large reserve of fat is something no animal can afford to ignore. Polar bears gather. Here, the hunt gives way to a different kind of competition. No breathing hold, no silent approach, no final rush. Instead, there is hierarchy, body size, safe distance, and access to the most energy-rich parts of the carcass. A larger bear can claim a better position. A smaller one must wait at the margins. A mother with cubs has to be especially cautious because the chance to feed comes with the risk of encountering other adults. Yet even amid the chaos, this food source is immensely valuable. In the Arctic, fat is more than food. It is time. Time to keep moving. Time to endure hunger. Time to wait for another hunting opportunity to appear on the sea ice. Polar bears prioritize fat-rich energy because their bodies must retain heat travel long distances and survive in a landscape where prey is unpredictable. That is why every large store of blubber functions as a vital reserve for survival. But there is one kind of lesson in the Arctic that does not come from a hunt. It comes from following. For a cub, the sea ice is not a playground. It is the first classroom. The young bear follows its mother, stepping into footprints already tested. It learns to stop when she stops. It learns to keep its distance. It learns not to wander across fractured ice. It learns to track scent, wind direction, and the subtle signals the human eye can barely detect. A mother bear does not teach in long explanatory sounds. The lessons are embedded in repetition. When she lowers her head to the ice, the cub watches. When she lies still before a doubtful opening, it learns that waiting is part of the hunt. When she turns away from a chance that carries too much risk, It learns that not everything visible can become food. This is survival knowledge. A cub does not simply need to grow. It must learn to read the ice before it can live independently on this hunting ground. So every step behind its mother becomes a lesson in distance scent, wind, and energy. In the Arctic, instinct is not only born, it is passed down through the journey. No predator wins every hunt, and in the Arctic, failure is often silent. It may be a breathing hole that is no longer in use, a seal that slips away before the bear arrives, a wind shift that comes too soon, a fractured slab of ice that breaks the approach. The bear cannot rage against any of it. It can only conserve what energy remains. After each setback, it must make a new decision. Keep waiting, change position, or lie down to reduce the drain on its body. This is the least dramatic part of the hunt, but it is the most real. Most of the time, a polar bear does not lunge at its prey. It walks, stops, sniffs, waits, fails, then moves on. A successful hunt may last only seconds, but the survival system behind it is built on hours of silence. In cold environments, conserving energy is not a secondary choice. It is the central strategy. Every unnecessary step, every ill-judged burst of speed, every needless stretch of swimming reduces the ability to sustain the next hunt. Not every creature in the Arctic hunts for itself. One much smaller species has learned to turn the bear itself into a source of food. That species is the Arctic fox. It is not large enough to pursue big prey on its own, but it can do something else: follow at a safe enough distance and wait. When a bear leaves behind a food source, after consuming the most energy-rich parts, what remains does not simply disappear. It waits for another creature to arrive. This is an almost cost-free strategy. The fox does not have to expend energy tracking approaching or waiting for hours beside a breathing hole. It needs only to watch a larger predator and patiently maintain its distance until the right moment. But that distance is never fixed. Getting too close to a bear still near its food is a real risk. The fox must continually read the bear's signals, its posture, speed, the angle of its head, to know when to move in and when to fall back. Its coat also changes with the seasons, nearly pure white in winter, then shifting to brown-gray as the snow retreats in summer. A form of camouflage that is never static, much like the fox's own survival strategy, which adapts to changing conditions and never relies on a single way of enduring. In a land where most stories revolve around the largest predators, this is another kind of tale. One that shows survival does not always mean being the strongest. Sometimes it means knowing exactly where to stand and behind whom. At last, another opportunity appears. Not a big one, not a certain one, but enough to make the bear change course. A small sheet of ice, a pause point, a fresh slip, a scent just distinct enough to draw that immense body into full concentration. The bear does not move in a straight line. It angles with the wind. Polar bears are not built for long pursuits across fractured ice. They must end the hunt quickly, or stop before the cost outweighs the gain. The Arctic does not reward impatience. It rewards only the right moment. When food is available, a bear wastes no motion. It eats the most energy-rich portion first. Then it rests. Rest is not laziness. Rest is the next part of the strategy. Every meal is converted into reserves. Every hour spent motionless helps the body hold on to the energy it has just gained. In a world where hunting opportunities may be separated by long stretches of time, eating and resting are two halves of the same system. Then, the hunting ground opens again. Another breathing hole, another edge of ice, another scent trail dragged across the snow by the wind. The bear rises, not because the previous hunt has fully ended, but because in the Arctic, there is no clear boundary between today's meal and tomorrow's need. Each full stomach is only a brief pause in a longer chain of searching. For a polar bear, ice is not scenery. It is hunting ground, roadway, resting place. It is the map that determines where prey must surface, where a bear can wait, and where a meal may begin. When the ice is continuous, the hunt has structure. When the ice fractures, everything grows more costly. Farther travel, more swimming longer, waits more failures. But the bear keeps going. It does not live on constant bursts of success. It survives by conserving energy, reading the smallest signals, and turning an instant of opportunity into a chance to live. In the Arctic, a predator does not win by moving faster all the time. It wins by knowing when not to move, knowing when to wait, knowing when a small opening in the ice matters more than a vast stretch of sea. And when the wind drifts snow over old tracks, the next hunt has already begun before the prey appears. On this frozen hunting ground, life does not belong to the loudest. It belongs to the one patient enough to hear what the ice is saying. If you want to uncover more stories of survival strategy and the mysteries of the wild, please like, share, and subscribe so you do not miss the journeys ahead.